Hello. Hi, everybody.
Let us know if you can hear us and or see us.
We are celebrating. We're celebrating 2 milestones today, actually.
Today?
Yeah. Not only did we just reach 30,000 subscribers, which is incredible. It has been such a wild journey. Yeah, party hardy. It's 3 months. But we also, according to our channel views, we reached 1 million views today.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's sort of insane.
I didn't think it was that many. Like, I know the combat video is doing really well.
Yeah.
But 1 million is a lot.
1 million is so much. We launched with sound and video, new bar set. Ouch, my nose.
So it looks like the key is me being here when you stream from the beginning.
That might be the key, yeah. So like we did last time, we have a whole bunch of questions from channel members that we wanted to get to first, and then we were gonna turn our attention over to chat. So at the very start of this thing, we're just gonna read aloud the questions from the Discord I have here in front of us, and we're gonna go through each of them one by one.
If you're interested in asking questions, if you want like priority on asking questions, if you join our either YouTube membership at the lowest tier, or if you join our Patreon at any tier, then you get access to Discord. So if you want us to answer your questions before everyone else in chat, gotta get in the Discord server.
Got that plug ready.
Yeah.
Good job. Are we the chat, the screaming mass?
Good luck, Charm.
Yes.
AB.
Hi, Charles.
Okay, I think we should just get started with the questions.
Yeah.
Because that's what this stream is about. Alright, these are in these are in no particular order besides the ones that people posted in, right? So it's just a Discord chat. People would put questions in, so it's not from like easy to hard or whatever favorite question to...
And we just scroll to the top.
Yeah.
Starting with Only Paolo asks...
Are you about to delete that?
No.
No.
What do you do when you have a part of your game prepped with art, minis, and maps, but you want to do a sandbox now and expand the world? It's basically impossible to have so many assets. I hand draw my maps. So one thing I was talking about with my coworker Oscar today at work is that he's preparing a game. I hope none of Oscar's players are watching, but he's preparing a game, and it's going to be set in like a swamp. And
Oscar's players leave. Deafen for
a little bit.
30 seconds.
We'll do a little thumbs up in case you're here. They're playing in a little swamp, and there's going to be a camp full of boggarts, which are like bullywugs, but for Pathfinder. And well, his issue was that he couldn't find or make any battle maps that really are both a camp and also a swamp, and the tents aren't leather or something or cloth. They had to be like bullywug tents. And he kind of run into this issue where it's like, okay, now he has to either do custom maps or something like that. But because I hand draw all my maps, and you can hand draw, you can use Dungeon Scroll, you can use various tools that are lower like art fidelity, and that way you can use the assets more like broadly. You don't have to be as specific.
Yeah, like I think if you want to run a sandbox, you need to be okay with having stuff be a bit more generic so that it can fit. Or I don't know, you have to literally make custom art assets for every part of your world, which is an insane ask. So, you know, whatever is more realistic for you.
Oftentimes I'll just grab whatever mini I have and be like, it doesn't look like this, it looks like something else, and we'll have that be it. Lee DM asks, I struggle with running high level play. Generally anything post level 11 gets really challenging. You got any advice? 2 things. Number 1, you got to make sure that your content is on a scale appropriate for high-level players. A lot of people struggling with high-level play, they're still playing that sort of dungeon crawling, fighting goblins and orcs, but like now the goblins and orcs are tougher kind of thing. Once you get to higher levels, you got to be fighting demigods and gods and like archfiends and that kind of stuff. The second thing that I would say is that you got to make sure that your combat challenges are multiple in a day, so that you're fighting encounter after encounter after encounter, and then you actually play 5th edition like the resource management game that it kind of is, by draining the players' resources and then sending them into the really tough fights.
Yeah, I mean, in our current ongoing campaign, Daði is using like more difficult resting rules. So a short rest is 8 hours, which is like a night's sleep, and a long rest is we have to spend 3 days in one place. So basically 3 short rests in one place, or we can basically make a location a safe haven if we basically make the area safe or whatever. But the point is, because multiple days will occur without us having a long rest. He's throwing encounters at us multiple days in between long rests, so that even at early levels, we're only level 2 and 3. It does a lot to drain the resources.
I'm getting some alerts about the stream bitrate.
Lower than the recommended bitrate.
Like less than half. Is everyone getting a good stream on their end?
Can we futz with the bitrate?
Yes, there were some settings I was futzing with because the aspect ratio was different. And I was a little concerned with that. So health check. Everybody, are you getting a good stream right now? Stream seems alright, no quality issues.
Is that not just an option thing?
Yeah, so here we can try.
That might have like.
I think we're still live.
Okay.
I don't think we killed it. Oh, everything's blinking. Missing the background volcano. Yeah, there's no background volcano right now.
What?
There was a background volcano in that one video.
Oh.
Yeah, Grimble Fex. It's we have no idea what's going on. We're kind of awestruck at the whole idea of any of this going remarkably as well as it has. So thanks everybody for sticking around. Thank you. No words.
All right, we're gonna move on.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if we say people's names wrong, sorry. Bachel. As a general rule, most D&D tubers recommend only spending as much time prepping as you will spend playing. But many people have the time and regain spoons, or IRL spell slots, if you will, from prep. So we spend a lot more time than that. And many others hardly have time at all, and must rely heavily on improv and touching grass. How did you find that balance for yourself between work, life, and D&D? Okay, I need you guys to understand that I don't think he's actually found the balance yet.
Listen, you can always Rachel with a B. Rachel. You can always sacrifice some sleep and prep more. No, I wish I had the answer. In general, I would say that in terms of like prepping a session, I prep a lot and I write a lot, but I am very rarely prepping as many hours as we play. We tend to play multiple hour, like 5-6 hour sessions. I'm usually not prepping for 5 to 6 hours.
Oh, sorry, that's really loud.
Yeah.
Just people are asking where to put questions. If you join the Discord, there's a channel called Livestream Questions. So just put stuff there if you're joining.
Otherwise, Magnus, who's our moderator tonight, there might be other mods, but I know he's in here, also said that if you start your message with question, then we'll get to it once we're done with all the Discord.
Yeah, that's specifically if you ask it in
questions.
the YouTube chat. But
Yeah.
This is people that are joining in the Discord.
Ah, I see.
So if you're joining the Discord, there's a channel called Livestream Questions. If you're asking it here in YouTube chat, Magnus suggested, start the message with question, :
Oh, people are typing.
Yeah.
Todd is typing, and Quain Toctopus.
Oh, a bunch of people are typing.
Yeah, I run for about like 5-6 hours. I don't prep for 5-6 hours. I usually find that if I know what the adventure is and if I know who the characters are, it only takes me an hour or 2 to prep a session. And I try and keep it to that. And the thing I do is it's this kind of reverse chasing oblivion or whatever we called it in the writer's block video. But I make sure to not start my session prep until my window is relatively short. So if I'm running on the weekend, I might be starting session prep an hour or 2 before the session starts. That way I only have an hour or 2. If I'm running on a weekday, I might realize that I'm gonna have to go to bed in a certain amount of hours, and I'm running tomorrow. That's when I start prepping.
All right. Moving on.
Hang on, Magnus asks a good follow-up question that I want to get. How many sessions does it take for us to reach the amount of hours you do for pre-campaign prep? An insane amount. I spend nights and nights and nights, a ridiculous amount of time I spend on campaign prep, adventure prep, that kind of thing. So, I don't know. That one is as long as you're having fun, you're doing it right.
Ketska Pausers asks, how do you balance surprising your players with exciting plot twists while ensuring they remain engaged and comfortable with the direction of the game? I often come up with ideas that could fundamentally change a character's worldview, but I hesitate to implement them without the player's consent. How can I navigate this without ruining the surprise or disrupting their agency?
That's a good question.
I mean, part of it is just like trust. Like, I made a character and I gave her to you.
Yeah. And
I'm accepting that you're gonna do stuff. I mean, like, Ketsuko mentions, like, changing worldview and things. Like, Daði as a DM can't forcibly change my character's worldview, but you could make events happen that maybe during roleplay it starts to shift how I think about things. Yeah, but you can't just be like, your character now believes this or will act this way now.
Yeah. But I'll nudge you along, and I'll make sure to, like, I'll make sure that whatever I'm role playing the characters, the NPCs, to the degree that they would be behaving. So in that case, if they're about to have a moment that's gonna possibly change their worldview, I want to make sure that moment is in character for the players I'm playing, and then usually nobody feels screwed out or anything like that if everybody else is behaving accordingly. Like we had a session recently where you were meeting with an NPC, and that NPC, a Krauser, that NPC was, a bag of dicks.
Yes, I do not like him.
But that scene was also entirely in character form.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't going into that scene with the purpose of changing your worldview, but Krauser went into that scene with the purpose of changing your worldview. And then I get to just roleplay Krauser.
Yeah, because DM intention and character intention aren't necessarily the same thing.
Yeah. Aiden. That's AB's favorite NPC is Aiden, and it's a tragic figure. I'm gonna try and squeeze a little closer here. Aiden asks, how do you go about altering a monster or perhaps creating one from scratch to either increase or lower the CR for an encounter? Do you have a favorite monster enemy you've created for your players in the past? Yeah, like one thing you can always do with a monster is you can reduce hit points, you can lower the AC. A thing I do frequently if I want to run a cool monster and I don't want it to be too powerful, but I also don't want to take away all the cool stuff they can do, is I remove the multi-attack, and that way they just make one attack. The favorite monster enemy I've created is my own version of the Invincible Overlord. That was a CR 30 bad guy meant to challenge 8 level 20 PCs stock full of magic items. And it was a monstrosity to build. His AC was 25 or 30, depending on whether or not he cast Shield. He had 5 legendary actions, a mythic phase. That was a lot of fun. Maybe one day I'll share that. Speaking of which.
Casual train wreck. How do you keep encounters interesting? It says with bogging down, but I assume you say without bogging down combat, with 85 legendary actions and 12 lair actions. I tend to forget they exist and usually compensate by buffing the monster's stats or damage, but I don't know if that's the best answer. I have problems running low-level D&D. It's far more... Oh, those are 2 separate questions. I think... I have problems running low-level D&D. It's far more deadly than I ever expect. I can throw a horde of gnolls at level 8, or even level 5 party, but 2 gnolls at level 1 could probably kill the whole party.
Correct.
How do I keep combat interesting at low levels without being too lethal? I mean, yeah, so those are kind of 2 different questions. It's how do you not bog it down, and also how do you not be too lethal?
So how do you not bog it down? I mean, 85 legendary actions is a lot of legendary actions. Don't use 85. Maybe 84 or something would be better. No, like, if you've got a big boss monster, I try and make sure only one of them has legendary actions. I have once or twice messed around with having multiple monsters with legendary actions. But it's usually for the best if you just give one of them legendary actions, and that way you're only working with 3. And in the new rules, they're not even lair actions anymore. There's 1 extra legendary. Careful.
Sorry. Does
It's the audio.
Will this?
It'll give us data if you click that button. Yeah,
sure.
click that other button.
Refresh?
No, the stream.
Oh, this.
Yeah, and then you get data.
Oh, there we
go. How to do low level combat? Even gnolls, even if you're just doing 2 gnolls, that's gnolls at level 1. And the thing is, the action economy is super important. So lowering the number is a good indicator. But gnolls also do like a D8 damage, and they do blood frenzy or something like. Gnolls are scary for reasons other than how many there are. So what you want to do is use monsters that have lower damage output, and use fewer of them. And then instead of having 1 encounter meant to challenge everybody, you have multiple encounters that slowly end up challenging the whole party. That's why a 5-room dungeon is so good. You can challenge them with a small encounter at the entrance, a small encounter, or a fairly large encounter in the middle, and then an even larger encounter at the end. And all 3 of them are just poking away at their hit points. Rick, I want to hear about more about Daði and Anna. What made you decide to create this channel? How did you get into RPGs? How is Iceland? What would you like to share with us to build our relationship with you?
Alright, one by one, I guess.
What made you want to create this channel?
Well, first we wanted something that we could work on together, because we're both creative people, but we tend to do our own thing. There's not really a project that we have that we work on.
So we'd spend a lot of time, you sitting at your desk over there and me at my desk over here, working on separate creative projects. And we were like, this is ridiculous. Surely there's something we can have fun doing together.
Also, he'd been talking about for years, be like, I know things about D&D. Other people should listen to me. So you know.
I just had to tell everybody everything.
How'd you get into RPGs? For me, it started out as video games. Like, I didn't get into TTRPGs until later. So yeah, from a young age, I was a gamer. I was always a fan of like fantasy stuff. I was always reading fantasy books. So big fantasy nerd. But yeah, in terms of like RPGs, it was like Mass Effect and Dragon Age, like golden age of BioWare really drew me in. And then in college, I started listening to the Adventure Zone podcast, the very first season. And I was like, maybe I could do this. And I started playing online, and now we're here.
For me, it was Yox Quest. Back in, I think that's like 2014. I think like 5th edition was brand new. I don't even know. Maybe they were playing Pathfinder back then. And I saw those guys playing D&D, and I was like, I really want to do this. So I had a friend of mine go figure out how Pathfinder worked, and we played like 12, 13, 14-hour sessions at the start, and there were usually 12 or 13 of us. It was kind of crazy.
That's insane.
We would just sort of block out a weekend.
Insane behavior.
Naigobi's in chat.
Hi, Naigobi.
She was anger crying on the phone to Nico. That's not good. Poor Nico.
Well, you're here now.
Hi, Naigobi. Everybody check out Naigobi's channel. She does amazing videos. Yeah, then we played a lot of Pathfinder. That's how we got into it. How is Iceland? It's cold right now. It's really, really, really cold. The snow's gone.
You say that, but it's actually not that cold.
It's freezing.
Any Canadians or any Canadians will probably be like, it's not that cold.
It's freezing.
It's not that cold. It was 3 degrees today, or like yesterday, Celsius.
Fatal.
It's above freezing.
What would you like to share with us to build our relationship with you?
I don't know, it's kind of a vague question.
We had our anniversary on Valentine's Day.
Yes.
That was nice.
I
had duck.
I had some beef thing. I don't know. Translating, I don't know the name of beef cuts in Icelandic and English. Alright. Vidarius, I would ask about your advice for utilizing terrain, elevation, and environmental hazards, as well as getting players to utilize them. Well, we kind of have a video
The map foo one.
We have a map foo video, which talks about how to make a battle map, an interesting battle map with various features. Excuse me. Which goes over some of those details.
Getting players to utilize them, what you do is you have the enemies use them and hurt the players with it, and then the players will be like, that's a bunch of nonsense, and they'll want to use it too. And Magnus is telling us.
That's you.
That's me. I'm slamming my hands on the table, and the mic picks it up hard in italic letters. So yeah, if you want your players to use the environment, make the enemy use it, and then.
Can we just there?
Yeah. And then they'll want to use it too.
All right. Spectre 1. I'd like to see some of your prep that you use in the actual session. I'm not sure if that's your Obsidian notes or what. Is that a specific Obsidian note that itemizes each encounter? What does it look like? Your description blocks there as well. How much is written down and how much is improvised?
In the stream we did, I prepped the session from scratch. It's called like Adventure. Let's make an Adventure 3 or something like that. It's one of the lives we did. I write down an actual session the way I run it, and the only thing that's missing in that is like if I put an encounter into D&D Beyond, which I don't do anymore, and I bold the creatures I'm going to use, and that's it. Like, go check out that video, and you'll be able to see the session notes for it. I could also post them in Obsidian chat at some point. God, we're both very belchy.
I think we should uncheck these things because it's really confusing that you thumbs up everything.
I thumbs up everything. That's how I know that I've seen it.
Halixon, I'd love to hear about your thoughts on themes in TTRPG. Themes in the sense of storytelling devices and recurring emotive through lines and narrative messages. Pretty open-ended question.
I don't know. I know that Tolkien said that he despises allegory, but I love allegory. Allegory is very easy. You can, if you know your subject matter well, you can fairly easily sort of start making connections between things and talk about what you want. So in that case, I'd suggest, like for me, that now you're wondering about
No, sorry, I put it down and I was just watching the Michael.
Yeah. We should probably not be putting stuff on this table.
Okay, well.
Hang on. Do you want to put this on the bed?
Not really. It's an open drink can.
Okay. Allegory. Yes. Read history. When I go look at the history of the Second World War and Britain in the Second World War specifically, I get kind of fascinated by the kind of stories people would tell themselves about why they did what they were doing or why what they were doing was good. And those kind of stories tend to inspire me a whole bunch, and it tends to tell me what it is I want to make stories about. Live chat.
Alright. Well, Luke Strife asks, what kind of traps, puzzles, or riddles are your favorite to deploy in your game, and where do you get inspiration for new ones?
I rarely do that kind of stuff.
You don't do that much.
No.
A lot of the times the puzzles or riddles or whatever are just talk encounters.
Yeah. DJ Fred, welcome to the channel. Thanks so much.
The puzzle is, how do I talk to this NPC without having to roll a persuasion check?
That's a fun puzzle. That's my favorite puzzle, actually. Say the wrong thing, and you're gonna have a whole different adventure to worry about. I guess that's probably my favorite puzzle. Where do I get inspiration for new ones? If I'm gonna use a trap or a puzzle, I usually steal it from a book.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Siren
Songs asks, where do you find the line between systems? I'm working on a Pokemon Genesis setting, but unsure if the work needed to do it would be done better learning a separate system.
I'm probably the wrong person to ask. I play 5e. I'm very happy with 5e. I like the new edition a lot. So my world is a 5e world. It's got all the player's handbook species in there, and that way I can tell all the stories I want in that setting, and they can all connect to each other, and they all sort of are related. If you find yourself changing a system a bunch, you're probably what?
Lower the sensitivity slightly.
No.
Just a little.
No, it needs to be. You want it in the yellow line. You want it in the yellow line.
Why? Isn't that like slightly too loud?
No, voice volume is supposed to be above 10 and below, above 20 and below 10.
Fine.
Stop futzing with all the buttons.
No!
There are many buttons.
I want to futz with all the buttons.
Don't. If you find yourself basically making up a whole system instead of using a system, then...
Because, by the way, like, hitting this at all also procs it into red.
Just don't hit things.
Okay.
What was I saying?
That you only play 5e, we don't really play in between systems, that you don't have a lot of experience.
If you're changing a whole system, then you probably need a different system. I think that's my answer.
Alright. Scarlight asks, I'm interested in your world building process. Do you generally start with places, people, an idea that you just think is cool? And how do you go about expanding upon those ideas? Do you think logistically, narratively?
I usually have like a story I want to do. Like, my world's pretty much like set at the moment. Like, I know where the various sorts of major culture building blocks and that kind of stuff is. I figured that out a while ago. So right now it comes to a point where I'm like the Venkara adventure, I'm like, I really want to do a special forces adventure. Where can I set it? Who are the bad guys? Why are they the bad guys? What are they about? And I go from a story perspective into what the world is about, and then I can expand the world from there.
All right. Tyrion asks, your world building video really made me start seriously thinking about the campaign I want to DM in my own setting after I finished my current and first one. How would you go about integrating a version of D&D or a TTRPG in general into your own setting, or aspects of that setting that weren't made for D&D? For example, I have my own magic system, and I'm currently trying to figure out how I would integrate that into 5e gameplay. So I think this is pretty similar to the other question that I was asking about how do you play in between systems. We don't really have a lot of experience with that. I would say the only thing we kind of, or you have that, is that you made up a hex crawl system, but it's like very basic, and it doesn't engage with any other part of D&D. It's just we have D&D, and then when we go hex crawling, we do a few things, but otherwise there's no mixing. So that sounds really challenging.
On the magic system specifically, the old 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide, I think, has spell point variant rules, where you replace spell slots with spell points, and you subtract points for spells you cast. That might be something you're interested in. I have, on occasion, disagreed with the rules and done slight changes. Like, there are firearms in DMG, and I never really agreed with those rules, so what I ended up doing is making up my own firearm rules, which are available on the Patreon.
Exactly.
If you're interested in...
If you want firearm rules, check out our Patreon.
That wasn't on purpose, but there we are.
Kalel Kenobi asks, what are your plans for the future of this YouTube endeavor? What I mean is, do you aim for this to become your day job? If so, are you afraid it'll affect your passion for the hobby? If not, how far will you take it, and how do you plan on keeping it confined to a side thing? So at the moment, we're not like gunning for this to become our job. It's already had a lot more success than we were expecting, a lot quicker than we were expecting.
Yeah.
Because when we pitched it to each other originally, we were like, this is the hobby of our hobby. It's become a bit more now. It's become basically our second hobby that we're putting in at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, if at some point it became profitable enough for one of us to do it as a job, it would be like a conversation we would have. But it's not an option right now, and it's not something we're like gunning for.
The main goal, like with the channel right now, with the Patreon and these kinds of things, is that we have a bunch of equipment that we're borrowing from friends, or we're moving around. Like this microphone is my desktop microphone I use for work meetings when I'm at home or whatever. This is also our recording mic, so we're carting that back and forth into the living room.
We literally swap it between tables on like a daily basis.
Yeah, and we have to take this pop filter and screw it to the other side, because I'm on the other side of the mic when we're filming those videos. We have cameras and lenses and a whole bunch of stuff that we don't own that we want to replace as soon as possible. So right now we're trying to collect a bit of cash. We're saving up the ad revenue so that we can try and get to a point where we can buy those things.
Yeah, honestly, I think the biggest benefit for us is just if we can write off some D&D stuff as a business expense.
Yes, if we can buy a couple of minis, that would be great.
It'll just mean in the long term we can keep doing what we're doing, but slightly cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, that's the answer.
All right. Kilt asks, if you allow snacks at the table for your games, we do.
We do.
Then, on the GM side, what snacks does Daði eat while avoiding slowing down the game/narration? And do you use snacks as a way to buy yourself time to think about a response while you're chewing? All right, answer that first.
No. I used to really like caramels, and what would happen is that whenever I'd have a caramel, somebody would ask me a very complicated question.
Sorry, someone's asking about my tattoos, so I'm just kind of rotating my arm. There's several. I can go over them later if someone asks it as an actual question, but there's more than one. That's what I wanted to object to.
Yeah, so what used to happen is somebody would ask me a question, and I just stuck a caramel in my mouth, right? And then awkwardly sort of have to half chew a caramel and then answer. So now Turkish pepper is my favorite. It's a Danish candy despite the name, and it's licorice. So a lot of people don't like it, but here in Iceland we love licorice, and it's lovely. And whenever I open a bag, the bag inevitably has to lap around the table while everyone takes their phantom tax.
You're not a huge snacker. Like you have some candy, but you're not like munching.
Yeah, and then I have caffeine in this red container.
Part of that same question that Kilt asks, on the player side, what snacks does AV or other players eat to avoid distracting, e.g. crunching sounds or rustling of bags? Other players are the GM and potentially breaking immersion. Occasionally we will bring a rustly bag, and like there's no rules about what kind of food. We're just all hyper aware of what's going on. Sometimes
you get bombastic side eye.
Yeah, it's like bombastic side eye. If someone has a crunchy bag or whatever, we just try to wait to open it until there's not a scene or whatever.
And then there's a moment when they all wait. Oh, there's quiet.
Yeah. But similar to the Turkish pepper, often we'll have like gummies or candy or like.
Turkish pepper is Finnish, says Salka. Yeah.
Okay. But basically, there's no limit. We just try to not be disrespectful or disruptive. P-Quicks. Who are your favorite movie directors and actors? Who would you say have inspired you the most when it comes to your own filmmaking as well as your GMing? Well, you can go first. You're the movie boy.
Peter Jackson. Period. I realized I wanted to become a director when I was a kid, and I found out that there were 2 extra discs in the Lord of the Rings box set that were not the movie, and I went and watched them. And I saw this nerdy little bearded man in shorts running around in a mocap studio and talking to artists and just living in a fantasy world. And I thought, I want to do that. So now I get to do that for a living, and I get to play D&D in the evening, which is as close as I think I'm going to get, which is a lot of fun.
For me, I'm not as big into movies. I'm really bad with names. Like, I can know actors' faces and like directors' faces, but I always forget people. But this isn't like highbrow or anything, but I've always really liked Christopher Nolan movies. Like, I remember really watching Inception. I loved that movie, and I like, it's one of the only movies I've rewatched multiple times.
Oppenheimer was spectacular.
Like, Oppenheimer was good. I wasn't as big of a fan of it as some people. Then there's also, oh god, what's that director? Remember we went into were you there when like it was in Gunlapio. He often has Adrian Brody in his movies. He did
Hi, Koi Fish.
Wait, what's his name?
Adrian Brody.
Hold on.
We're Googling.
Adrian Brody.
This is Adrian Brody.
Yeah, he was in the one who.
Oh, Wes Anderson.
Yes, Wes Anderson. I'm sorry. I'm very listen. I'm really bad with names, but Wes Anderson is cool. Yeah. I think that's it for that question. Lady L. What is your source of inspiration for plots / characters / world building? For example, listening to music and looking at art sparks the most ideas in my brain. What is it for you?
In order to it's that writer's block video again. If I reference that, there's a quote from a writer I no longer respect where he talks about he compares writing to pooping, and he talks about how you have to consume material you like, and then you can make more material, right? So for me, I'm watching TV shows or I'm watching movies, and sometimes it's nothing related to D&D. It's not art or anything. It'll be the strangest thing, just sort of whatever, and I'll suddenly go, ooh, I should, and it's unrelated to the thing. It's just that I'm watching something, and it's therefore creating a thought process, and then I'm like, oh yes, this, that, or the other thing, and then I'm inspired. Like I've talked about, The West Wing being a huge inspiration, or Arcane recently. I remember watching, and I wasn't thinking about making what's that city called? Piltover.
Piltover?
I wasn't thinking about I'm gonna steal Piltover or anything. It got me thinking about unrelated stuff in D&D.
For me, I just think a lot of my approach to characters and stuff is really basic. It just comes from appearance or stuff. I really like thinking about costume design. So a lot of times I'll be scrolling through Pinterest or something, and I'll see jewelry or a shirt or something. I have a huge collection of medieval clothing that one day I really want to make a Jester character, not Jester the D&D character, Jester
Silly hat,
jingly bells.
That should be its name. Jingly bells.
Jingly bells. I really love the medieval clothing aesthetic.
Yeah, Nairobi, of course I watched Arcane. I say of course, I had to be made to do it. Okay, so...
Daði was like, I'm never going to watch Arcane. I hate animated shows. People have been telling him for years, you need to watch Arcane. And I was like, no. And then I'm like, so Arcane Season 2 came out. I'm going to watch it. Would you like to try Season 1 where I'm going to watch this without you? And he was like, okay... And then you really liked it.
I really liked it. It was awesome. I normally don't like animated stuff. There's something about animated characters tend to overact in a lot of stuff, and it sets my teeth on edge. It tickles my funny bone. Oh my god! Okay. Agile Monk, thank you so much.
Just gave us $50. What the heck?
Thank you. That is incredible.
Oh my god! Toward your equipment. Thank you very much.
Well, we'll name the teleprompter after you. That'll be
Agile Monk. Alright, write that down.
Name.
Agile Monk gave us equipment money.
Nairobi continues to try and become your friend.
Thank you. I appreciate the compliment.
Wow.
Alright. Caleb. If you could collaborate with another D&D YouTuber to develop an adventure module, who would you like to collaborate with? Matt Colville. But we know he'll never do it.
I'm a huge fan of Matt Colville. Huge. That much should be obvious if you're watching. Clearly. But there's a thing that we're working on now with a whole bunch of D&D YouTubers that we're probably not going to go too much into, but...
no, it's still in the works.
But several of them have mentioned it to some of their subscribers. We're hoping to do a dungeon jam with a bunch of 5-room dungeons with a whole bunch of D&D tubers. And that'll be a lot of fun. Taryn Pounds in Destructive Boy is one of those people that I would love to get a chance to design something with.
Yeah.
He seems really cool. From the few conversations I've had with him, he's awesome.
There's lots of cool folks out there in this space, including you, Naigobi.
Naigobi's awesome. We'll probably get a chance to work together on something as well.
All right. Colin asks, what's your favorite official setting? Granted, we always play in homebrew. Like...
Oh my god.
Gaza Master. Hey, it's not $50, but I wanted to help too. Love it. Okay. Okay.
Listen.
Okay, just because someone gave $50 does not mean anything less than that
Thank you so
bad.
much.
Thank you so much.
My question is above. We'll definitely get to it when we scroll through the whole chat. We'll make sure to get yours, Gaz.
Yeah.
I hear your thoughts on a new channel. I'm excited to see your question. I'm curious.
Yeah, just a reminder, we're going through questions asked on Discord first. Those are asked by our YouTube members and our patrons. So if you want access to the Discord server and ask questions, you got to join there. We should probably make a sign or something that's just like in the live stream. So
yeah, some streamers have like buttons and things happening.
Yeah. We don't know how to live stream. So
yeah. Thank you so much, Gaz.
Yeah, favorite official setting.
You know that Strixhaven book got a lot of hate, but I had a lot of fun running in it. Can I say Avernus? I know it's like in the Forgotten Realms, but I ran Avernus. I just took Avernus and I stuck it into my setting, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you can say Avernus.
I'm going to say Avernus.
Alright.
Second favorite, I had a lot of fun in Strixhaven. Not really because of the book. The book introduced me to the magic stuff.
Cookie Dude asks, do you both like cheese? Yes.
Cheese good.
Cheese good. Phil Macer asks, how to run sessions in a large city. When my players reached Waterdeep, I was overwhelmed with possibilities. As it is not any module or official campaign but my own, I was just preparing a lot of things that they could do and see. The whole city is huge, has over 100 taverns, entrance to the Undermountain, and
good.
All of Halasters? A big dungeon.
Dungeon of the Mad Mage.
Yes. Multitude of laws, official guilds with their laws, so much lore. They have their objective there, but I don't want to limit their choices and just want to give the best impression of a fantasy medieval metropole.
Yeah.
I mean, Blackguard's a big city.
Blackguard's a huge city. One thing that...
Stop! Todd! Todd, no. Thank you for the gift. You guys.
Thanks so much, Todd. That's incredible.
Alright, we have to name our second monitor after Todd.
Todd can be the tripod.
Yeah, Todd can be the tripod. Oh my god, I can't spell. Whatever. Yes, how to run sessions in Large City.
So hang on, I'm trying to get Todd the tripod out of my head.
We have like a little sign.
So one thing you can do is you can always... One thing you can do is you can try and like, you can fog in a lot of that stuff. Like, you don't need to know where everything is everywhere. When you open Waterdeep and they have those big maps where everything is annotated, what that's meant to do is to give you a point of relaxation where you sort of know, if my players ask, what's the nearest tavern, you can look at the thing and go, here, it's this, and then you have an answer. But what you're really running is, I'm going to try and block out everything that's going on.
You guys are hilarious. Someone's claiming the left arrow on the keyboard. If you get us sick keycaps, if you buy us like individual custom keycaps, that works.
Oh my god.
I should show them my keyboard.
Yes, you've got a really cool keyboard. Mine's very boring.
Sorry, I'm ADHDing hard now and interrupting everything you say.
Yeah. You can fog it in. So what you're basically running is a point crawl. If you've ever read Justin Alexander's So You Want to Be a Dungeon Master or The Alexandrian, you know that a point crawl, really, you just have points in like this sort of foggy plane. And you could paint that foggy plane city color or forest color or dungeon color. And you just move from the square to the murder victim's house or whatever it is you're doing. And then you sort of narrate the bit where they're walking down the street and there are market stalls or whatever, and you only need to go look at the map with all the annotated stuff whenever it asks you a granular question. But when you're just running the story, you just run the story.
Shirt tier is real.
I want the shirt. We had there's a
joke. We
This is
we joked when we were setting up the Patreon. I was like,
Shirt
because there was a period of time where a bunch of people were like after we kind of recently started, they kept commenting on Daði's shirt, being like, "Oh, nice shirt. Where'd you get your shirt from?" So we were like, we should have a shirt tier where one person can claim it and pay like 4,000 ISK or something.
Yeah.
And they could pick a shirt for him to buy, so you can like dress him up. And we were like, we should name it shirt tier, but probably not.
Probably not. Somebody asked recently where I get them, and the answer is just like at the local mall.
There is a mall with a store called Dressmann. I think it's
it's a Nordic store.
Nordic store. It's like he likes one store and he gets all his clothing there.
Yeah, the shorts, the jeans, the suit, the shirt.
Yeah.
The shirt tier.
All right, another question from Pequix. As the channel is still quite young, but you're growing quickly, are you purely focusing on making the videos that you want to make? Or are you starting to feel the need to analyze which videos perform well and which do not when you're planning future videos? I know most YouTubers are at the mercy of the algorithm, so I'm curious how this affects a new and up-and-coming channel. So it kind of influenced us strongly at the very beginning. Like, right when we were planning it, Daði was like, this is going to be a book review channel.
That was going to be one of the things.
Yeah, that would be one of the major things, would be book reviews. And then when we put out our 5 videos, the book reviews did not do great.
No.
They're also just really time consuming.
They take so much time. I've been doing the Monster Manual script for ages, and it's going to come out soon, but it takes forever.
Yeah. Like, Daði obsesses over numbers, but we're not like, oh, this video got a marginally higher thing, so we need to do this, or we make the stuff we want to make.
Yeah.
We pay attention to the numbers.
I want to understand them, but I don't want to be a slave to them. I want to make the stuff we want to make. I want to get excited about the videos we want to make, and so far that's worked for us, is just being excited and talking about what we like.
Yeah, like the tier list thing I did on Valentine's Day is our worst video, but like, it's a new format and whatever. Like, we just did that because that was fun.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was going to do well. I was like, this is silly.
Let's do it.
I would like to do it.
Yeah.
And because...
we couldn't stop laughing at the idea, so we were like, listen, you now have to... you've said the word Monster Manual Sexiness Tier List or whatever, and now we have to do it.
Yeah, that's permanently on the internet. So, algorithm affects us, but... We're not beholden to it. Also,
it's like a lot of those YouTubers are talking about the algorithm because it's their job, and they have to be a lot more anxious about it than we have to be. We both have jobs we're doing. We're kind of just having fun right now. Yeah, like you're saying. So if we depended on this entirely for our income, we would be paying attention, because that means, no rent for the month or whatever. Ugh, sorry, I banged the table again. Magnus has terrified us of the table.
I'm sorry, Monkey. Okko says, my friend group and I are all people who got into D&D from Baldur's Gate 3.
Nice.
And we're more used to video games that are inherently more limiting than RPGs. Do you have any advice on how I as a DM could encourage my players to be more wacky and not limit themselves so much to a video game-esque feeling of only follow plot hooks and don't improvise?
Can you get them in a situation where there is no right answer? Can you get them in a situation where, and I don't just mean morally, like, Nagopi's dunking on your hobgoblin opinion.
Listen.
So a couple of ADHD people try and organize their thoughts.
If you don't agree with the list, make your own list.
Nagopi Smash or Pass Monster Manual.
Then we can talk.
Can you get them in a situation where there's no right answer? And I don't mean morally, because some video games have moral A or B. Do you go with classic? What are they called? Every video game has 2 factions. You can either be fascist or anarchist. Yeah. Like crazy or dictator.
There's always like the
You can be Imperial or Stormcloak. You can be blowing up the mic. You can be Imperial or Stormcloak. You can be maybe you were right, and I shouldn't have told you that you were not right.
Just slightly. That's all I asked for.
Yeah, that's all you asked for.
Release the Daði cut. He wasn't involved in any of it.
I made a cameo.
Yeah.
Defended Lae'zel's honor.
And you're in it.
Yeah.
So.
So I don't mean that. I mean, can you put them in a situation, put them in a forest, and say you have to go look for the temple. Which way do you go? Or you are in a situation where.
Bye, Mossy Antler.
Bye, Grant. Thanks for joining. Can you put them in a situation where there are 50 options? Can you sort of do like weird little what are you doing?
I was trying to see if there was a reply button.
Yeah. Can you do a little I don't know. Now I'm all lost. What have I done to what's some weird stuff I've done that makes it not be a video game?
I don't know. Most of what makes it not feel a video game to me is that we just spend like 3 hours talking. Like, I don't know. Like, okay, what makes it not feel like a video game is that me, Magnus, and Eva sat at the table and came up with the ridiculous plan to incite the assassination of, like, a church cardinal. We came up with that just in that session, and then you were like, here you go. Like, I don't know how...
You can orchestrate that, though. So can you have an NPC pitch them 17 crazy ideas?
Yeah.
Like, at the end of one session, and like you've still got an hour left or whatever, but you're getting to a point where you're going to need to figure out what next session is about. Ask your players, do you want to assassinate the priest? Like, have an NPC suggest that. Then have a different NPC say, let's talk to the priest. Then have a different NPC say, blah, 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 blah. And you've got a huge list. Get the players to pick. And then when they pick, go run that adventure for them.
I think also a way, I think also a good way of doing it is just, like, if any of the players ever have any sort of slight ideas, right? You're afraid of them just following the plot hooks, never deviating from anything. Like, the moment that they kind of show interest in something, like, immediately follow up on it. Because then they're like, okay, I had this, like, weird side idea, but the DM rolled with it. So that means, okay, if I have an even crazier idea, he's also going to roll with it.
Yeah. Brandon, thank you so much.
Yes, Brandon, $5. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. For your ADHD brain, we try and make the videos as ADHD friendly as we can by having weird edits and memes and jokes in there and stuff, so that even somebody as messed up as us, what?
The mic stand in front of me makes it look like I'm tied up.
Yeah, she's not going anywhere.
Save me. Carol X. Question. How do you deal with introducing tension and combat with good or neutral aligned enemies? Competing interests. Frame PCs for a crime. Or is this too narrative specific to suggest strategies?
You can frame them for a crime. A lot of the times you don't have to. A lot of the times the player's already done something a little bit messed up and you can just have somebody call them out on it and the players will hate that person. How dare they question me? They will. They'll immediately just have them go, did you do this? And the players will get angry. Add Subway Surfers. Listen, hot Gatorade.
Or like those Minecraft videos. Like
with the jumping?
Yeah. That Rob Human asks, are you familiar with the Ghost in the Shell standalone complex?
No, I'm not. I'm sorry.
He's recommending it to us.
That sounds cool. I assume that's animated, and it's probably not for me. Trekiros, welcome to the show. Thank you so much. Everybody go check out Trekiros' Flarefall. The game is really good.
Hello, Trekiros. Alright, Rooftop Leo asks, you have mentioned how this new mini campaign, I think...
I've answered this one in Venkara chat, and I'm not going to do it on stream because you're here.
Yes, okay, it's spoilers for me, so I can't see it. Skipping down.
What time is the stream, Rick asks.
Now. Captain Speakeasy asks, can I ask what your initial YouTube strategy was? Like, did you make 5 videos and post them all at once, so they would link together, etc.? Or does it need to be D&D questions only? It can be whatever. But yes, our strategy was we should put out 5 videos at once, because it sucks when you find a new channel and you find a cool video and you click on them and they have 1 video.
So we wanted to make sure that if somebody came and saw what they liked, there was more stuff they liked. And also this was good for us because we had 4 ideas that we wanted to do, 4 kinds of videos we wanted to make. And we were kind of hoping We did not think it was going to go this well. But we were kind of hoping one of them would do a little better than the others, and then we'd be able to know, okay, let's focus on that.
The answer is the combat video.
Turns out the combat... Listen, you get one hit, and then you're just... the combat, the eighth combat guy.
Alright. That Rob Human asks, what's your favorite fable or myth from history, and why?
Sæmundur Fróði is an Icelandic folklore hero.
Maki, can you type this out in chat, please?
His shtick is that he's really smart. He's a wizard, but he's not. He's just a really smart guy, and he plays tricks on the devil. And there are loads of these stories in Icelandic folklore, and they're all hilarious. At one point, he tricks the devil into turning into a seal so he can swim him to Iceland. I think he thwacks the seal at the end. I don't remember.
I don't know if I have like a favorite fable or myth, but I like when I was younger, I really liked fairy tales, like the Grimm's brothers or whatever, like European fairy tales basically, where like sometimes things get crazy. Like the original version of Cinderella, where like the sisters like cut bits off of their feet so they can fit into the glass slipper.
Yeah. Gross.
Gizmo66, who was your first character and your favorite character?
My first character was a gnome wizard. His name was Fladnag, which is Gandalf backwards. And he had a drinking problem. So he was like a level 20 wizard in his past, and then he went on a binge for some decades. And now he was a first level gnome wizard and didn't know anything, and he kept forgetting. So whenever he learned a new spell, he was like, I remember. I don't know about my favorite character.
Yeah.
What was your first?
My first character that I played, her name was Solane Orva. She was a warlock, and my subclass was, so this was in 2015, 16, something like that. So it was, at the time it was UA. It was called Path of the Star Chain. Where like, whatever, she was a warlock, and
Magnus knows who my favorite character is. Sorry, finish your story.
yeah, so it was Path of the Star Chain, so it was all like, basically the gist of the character was I had like this magical hair nut that like was my patron, and sometimes she would like take me over,
Okay.
and the only way I could communicate with her was like I had a book that I stole from a library, and I could ask her questions, but she would be like really facetious about it, and I was like, could you tell me about this? She was like, yeah, I could. And that would waste one of my questions because she was just being really annoying.
My favorite character was a depressed priest called Lee, and he was in like basically a fire cult, but it was the main religion of the country he grew up in, and he had to burn him out at the stake to be initiated into the religion, and that's when he left because he heard the guy screaming, and he was like a sinner or something.
Yeah.
Questioned his whole existence.
I think my favorite character is probably still Carlotta.
She's great.
It was a character I played in a short-term campaign that, the first short-term campaign you ran for me, I think.
If you don't count Expedition.
Oh, yeah. Okay, after the very first thing.
Yeah.
It was like kind of a investigation style thing. And she was a rogue, like, struggling with rebelling against the government, classic melodrama things, but I love her. Bailey asks, what kinds of what?
I was going to say, we're almost at the end of the members only questions. If we see any new ones coming in, we might skip them and just make sure that we get people in chat as well, because it's been an hour already.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but I think we should we should answer these first. That's what I've been saying.
Yeah.
All right, Bailey, what kinds of challenging social dynamics have you encountered at the table, and how did you navigate? Like IRL?
On occasion, like people have just had a tough time on account of like personal stuff that's going on in their lives. What we try and do is just make sure that we, are friends and we love one another. And if somebody needs to leave the table, or if we need to stop the session or whatever, we do that. Mental health is health, so that's important to us. I don't know if there's any sort of serious problems I've had.
No, because I think if there were serious problems, then we would either have to solve them or people would get kicked.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So in a video that's hopefully coming out on Thursday, if we manage to edit everything in time, it's going to be about scheduling conflicts, and we had a player that just said that they couldn't play on the weekends because that was their day off, and they couldn't play on the weekdays because that's when they were working. So we had no available schedules.
When play?
Then we told them that we couldn't really do D&D anymore because that when would we play? I think that's the only one I've sort of remember at least.
She also asks, or they, assuming pronouns here. Yes. She also asks, and for funsies, what is your favorite spell to use creatively?
Victor does this. Victor will pick a spell that we've all decided is terrible, and he'll be like, guys, Skywrite. And then we all have to watch him try and work that into the... Rope trick was big? No. Not rope trick. The one that's actually like a rope thing. Snare? He was like, I'm going to try and make snare be OP. And then we just watched him fail at doing anything with snare for a while.
I don't think I'm that creative of a spell user.
No.
Like, I know there is a druid spell. What is it? Is it Bones of the Earth? Pillars of the Earth or something. I don't know. Bones of the Earth, whatever. It's a relatively high level druid spell. When you read it for the first time, you're like, oh, that's sick. But then you read there's like 2 layers of saves that they have to do, which makes it way worse. And it's like, listen, this is my soapbox. Druids have so many cool spells that are useless.
Yeah.
And I have issues with it.
Yeah.
All right. YZR X Owl. Who is your table's favorite NPC you've created? Who is your favorite NPC? Why?
My table's favorite NPC is usually some goofy little guy I made. At the moment, it's probably Bertog.
I love Bertog.
Bertog's...
He's an orc we found that was basically sent off to die.
Yeah, he's like a Mad Max war boy. Yeah. And he's a bit of a dumb, but his heart's in the right place.
He's not that dumb. You made him dumber.
Yeah, so now he's dumb.
He was pretty smart when we met him.
Yeah, so you'd like him, and then he got dumber. So you'd love him.
I do love him.
My favorite NPCs are usually morally grey characters that are really useful at the moment, but will eventually screw the party over, and the party knows that. And then they're sort of making this Faustian bargain, and that's Krauser we were talking about earlier.
I was going to say, that's Krauser.
That's Wallace Kredge.
That's Kredge. Anyone named Krr.
You do love making dumb, sentimental, heartful, big guys. That's true. I was once upon a time all of those adjectives.
Hey, no. Alright, how are you two doing? We're doing pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Grant asks.
Grant. From Mossy Antler.
From Mossy Antler. How are you two doing? Pretty good. What are your favorite drinks? What's your favorite drink?
Lagavulin, probably.
I don't know if this meant alcohol or not, but I'm a big gin and tonic fan. Otherwise, mojito or Moscow Mule. Yeah. If you had one wish, but had to use it really selfishly, what would you wish for? Okay, I wasn't ready for, like, introspection during this.
Honestly...
Isn't the basic answer just have a bunch of money?
Yeah, but, like, on a more digging down level, like, if I had a bunch of money, I would want a house.
Yeah.
Like, a house would be nice. Maybe this is the most Gen Z we're gonna say, like all street.
I just want all of my money problems to not be an issue. I want house set, car set, pet set. I have enough money that I don't need to go to a job. I just do stuff that I want to do, and I can fly to the U.S.
More money for equipment.
Yeah. I can fly to the U.S. whenever I want to see my parents. The answer is just more money.
More money.
Listen, it solves a lot of problems.
Sigurður Pétur.
How was your first ever BBEG boss fight? Who was the BBEG? Was there anything you wish you could have done differently?
I think the answer has to be Razul. In my campaign setting, this is now we're gonna have to dig back into the days of yore, back into the Obama administration. But
No.
Oh my god.
That's Euros too. Spook whoop. You're crazy.
Been loving the videos. They're very informative and help re-spark my own enjoyment in DMing. Listen, that's why we do this.
Alright, they did ask you a question right there. Do you play in English or Icelandic? We play in English.
Yeah.
All the stuff is in English. His prep is in English. Everything's...
My job is in English. Honestly, Icelandic's for family events at this point.
Yep. I'm also half American, so I'm used to talking in English a lot.
Thank you so much, Spook Whoop.
BBG.
BBG Razul was, I think, the highest CR monster I found on D20 PFSRD, the Pathfinder System Reference document, back when I was learning Pathfinder. And it was a huge fight, and it was no fun. It was very boring. It was just a lot of punching the bad guy. So I don't know, but that was ages ago, and I'm a better DM now, and that's kind of the beauty of this hobby, is that you get better.
Alright. Bamus, or Bamus, like famous with a B. Question: how do you take a pre-written campaign book, like Curse of Strahd or Descend into Avernus, and make it into your own campaign?
Here's what you do. You go on D&D Beyond, or wherever you have it, and you copy the whole thing into Obsidian. And then you do find replace and change the names for names that make sense to you. And then you start at the top and you work your way down, changing facts as you go. And whenever you change a name or change anything, you find and replace the whole document. And you go through the whole thing. And then at the end of it, you will have read the whole thing, edited the whole thing, and the whole thing will start appealing to you. So by the time you get to a new paragraph in chapter 5 or 6, all the words have already been changed into your campaign setting. And you're going, ooh, wow, that's really cool. Somebody's world building for me. Mwah, mwah.
Question 2. Have you ever considered writing a book on the mystic arts of DMing?
No.
I think we're going to start with the YouTube videos, and then...
If we do a book, I'd want it to be something else.
Yeah.
I'd want it to be a campaign setting or an adventure or something.
Not just like a book of the things we've already been saying.
Yeah, the videos should ideally stand on their own.
Alright, so Peter, if you're running a long campaign and a PC dies, like permadeath, and they bring out a new character, do they start at the same level 1 or level behind? I've heard mixed takes on this, and I'd love to get your thoughts. So like, typical, the way D&D is run would be like, they just come in at the same level, right? Because I mean, let's say you're level 10 and someone dies. It would suck to join as level 1 because like, first of all, you wouldn't feel cool, right? You don't have as many abilities, whatever. And also just the hit point difference means you would just get perma-deaded immediately to any monster or something that is at level 10. So like, functionally, they should be at the same level.
Yeah. I have done funky stuff with this. For instance, in the big 6-year Kingmaker, we call it. It's not the Pathfinder Adventure Path, but it's the Kingmaker Adventure, we called it. One player was playing through Rime of the Frost Maiden, and that campaign fell apart. And then she just took her character and joined the level 11 characters with her level 5 character, level 4. Like, she was really low level.
Ooh.
Anna.
Oh, she joined that low?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then...
Was it Pearl?
Yeah, it was Pearl.
She was that low?
Yeah, she started at level 1.
Crazy!
And then the whole cast of the main characters that have been playing the campaign this whole time, she kind of looks up to them because they're higher level, they're more capable, but slowly she starts to catch up. And then she's got a built-in story of her reaching the potential of the people she looks up to, and that's kind of baked in. Anna's in chat, she says it's level 5.
That is wild, I didn't know that about Pearl.
Same was true with Gwisted. Rolo started in Smokers.
The more you know.
Yeah.
Nick Gilby asks, question 1, have you ever been able to legit jump scare your players? I, a frustrated devil, yelled a single word and I actually scared myself with how it came out. Okay, well literally like 2 days ago when you mentioned like a bone claw appears or whatever, my arm was under the table and I jumped. And I like, yeah, or something, like you did something and I was so shocked that I like jumped and like
hurt your arm.
Hurt my arm.
Yes. Yes. Got her. Yeah, then apparently.
But I don't know. I wouldn't want that to be a thing. Like
No.
jump scare. Like.
It's not like something we bust out all the time. But I remember Magnus at one point. He was playing like a Wendigo, I think, and there was a fight that started, and he was sort of in his chair, and he was like mouthing along. He was playing this character, and then he like leaned over the table, and I think this didn't hurt himself on the table in the same way as he like went up, and that was very memorable.
And question 2 from Nick. Have you ever surprised yourself with what's coming out of your mouth? An accent, voice, yell, whatever.
Spittle most of the time. I'm like, oh god. So yeah, like that Krauser scene we were talking about. Sometimes I'm immersed. I'm in character, and what happened. What happens is that I get so into what I'm role playing that I just forget that I'm a person sitting at a table.
Todd, no, enough. Stop.
Thank you, Todd. You should probably stop, but thank you. Yeah, so I get to a point where I'm just immersed in a character, and like that whole Krauser scene, I was just being Krauser.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't planning on what to say next or what to do or whatever. I was being that guy, and then I'm usually surprised by whatever I'm doing.
Yes. York, what was your first D&D character? Well, we kind of already talked about that.
Flatneck?
Would they win a fight against your most recent character?
No. My most recent character is like a level 13 badass. He's not a level 1 gnome. He would kick that little brat's ass.
Mine would, because my first character was level 11 when I last played her, and my current one is level 3. So she'd do like 1 Eldritch Blast and would kill her.
Nice. Try Trod.
Todd65, any tips to get players buy-in with variant resting or homebrewed resting rules? Many of my players want to Nova each adventuring day and then rest. Just have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's...
getting the players to be interested in that?
Yeah. Like, you told us... Because we have variant resting rules.
Yeah.
And Daði was like, I'm thinking of having this as part of my game. What do you think?
Yeah. In the interim, if they're currently going Nova every adventuring day and then resting, like, I don't think you can swap resting rules mid-campaign. I think it's going to be too much of a disconnect for a character that used to be able to do a certain amount of stuff every day, now has to do it once a week or whatever your variance is. So I think what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start a new campaign with these new resting rules. In the interim, what you have to do is you have to load your adventuring day. You have to have like 50 things happen in a single day, and then they're all panicking. They're doing, we have to do this, and do a whole list of stuff.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this earlier. Just make sure they're doing a bunch of things. Quaint Octopus asks, so your content is primarily D&D. Any interest in other systems, genres outside of fantasy? Not really.
No, we play, like, all of my games are in the same setting, so we use D&D for almost all of it. I've played a bit of Call of Cthulhu. I'm always meaning to go back into another Call of Cthulhu game. We played Paranoia, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, like, we have things we do occasionally just for fun.
Yeah.
But we have no intention of, like, switching system or, like, doing a long-term game or anything in another system. Just not interested.
No, not really. We hope that the stuff that's on the channel a lot of the time is applicable to any system. Like the 8 types of combat is not specific enough that you can't use it in Pathfinder or whatever. Like, ideally these things are transferable.
DM Magnus or Magnus.
Oh.
How do you keep track of things you might want to do or use for future sessions? Like monsters you might want to use, encounters you throw in if players travel to X and Y, or things that the players do that will pay off in the future. I mean, you just make notes of it during the session, right?
Yeah. I have, at the bottom of my session prep notes, I have a section called Postmortem, which is inaccurate because I type in it not just when the session is done, but also during the session. And if I say something that I haven't written down beforehand or whatever, I type it in there, and then it's there. And then I can always look back on those things. Also, I try and tell it to the players, like, in this place, there is this one thing. And then the players are going to go, we should go to that place with the thing in it. And then I go, oh yeah, God, yes, I told them there was a thing there. And now that's canon, because they all remember it.
Alright.
Todd says, last session I used 2 of the 8 types of combat.
Let's go.
Nice.
Broken Shield asks, hi y'all, how do you make combat more lethal? Running Tomb of Annihilation and challenging combat seems to be the part I struggle with the most as a DM.
Bigger numbers, like... more creatures, more damage.
More actions. Or, like, more attacks.
and crucially, more encounters in a day. I think one of the videos we're going to make soon is just more encounters in a day. Like 5e really breaks down if everyone can go Nova every fight.
Placid Fox asks, what is your favorite homebrew rule or system you've made up?
Well, if you join the Patreon... No, at the moment I get a lot of kicks out of our domain system.
My god.
Which is horrible.
It's horrible and we're never releasing it.
We're never releasing it. It's a spreadsheet, it has no written rules, and it's just a way for me to keep track of like regional wealth and trade goods and stuff like that. It does not work, right? So, but...
It's so much management on your end also.
Yes.
Like it's just...
It's not a system. You can't get it. But I do like that thing a lot. The firearm rules I'm very proud of.
Plus we have a subclass that Magnus and Daði made together that we will be releasing into the wild in the future. So if you're interested in that, we'll be talking more about it later.
Yeah.
And this is the last Discord server question. So if you guys have questions in the YouTube chat, go ahead and put those in. Try to start it with the word question : so we can look it up easily.
We're probably going to scroll up chat.
Yeah, we're literally going to scroll back to the beginning of the chat.
And look at everything with question.
But Joel asks, if you reach a fork in your narrative, how is a decision made to weigh the options? AKA, how do you delve what paths lie ahead when presented with uncertain story thread? I mean, that's up to the players, right?
Yeah, that's up to the players. I try to make sure...
Oh, yes. Sorry, class, not subclass.
Yeah. We try to make sure that when when I'm presenting options to the players, I'm not presenting them options. I'm just telling them facts, and I try and make sure that the facts I'm telling them are as accurate as I can, or if they're inaccurate, I try to make sure that they understand that the information they're getting is flawed, because I want them to make informed choices, and I want them to be able to make that choice on their own as they are gonna make those choices. So I ultimately it's up to the players to decide these things, and you want them to have the joy of sort of figuring out what is what. And ideally, these things aren't so obvious every time. A lot of the times my players are making choices and they don't know they're making choices. There's just stuff happening. There's stuff that they're going, oh, we're going to go here first. Okay, we're going to go talk to this person. And they don't know that because they're starting with option A, there's something that the clock is running out on right now. But they're making choices based on what they're doing in the given moment.
Alright, so we're scrolling to the top of the chat that we can see, but right now it's when, if you've been here the whole time, it's when Agile Monk donated the $50. So if you asked a question earlier, put them in the chat now, because we're going to start scrolling down. Vaibhav Gupta asks, do either of you enjoy actual plays? Any particular channel or campaign?
I watched all of Critical Role Campaign 2. I loved the crap out of that. I never caught up with the first one, except for the animated show. And I never really got started on the third one. I really liked Crown of Candy on Dimension 20. I watched several Dimension 20, like the Fantasy High one. But the Crown of Candy I really liked.
I'm not huge on actual plays. I did listen, this is a podcast, I listened to the Adventure Zone back in like 2015, 2016, the first couple seasons of that. And I started Critical Role Campaign Season 2. I got like maybe 2/3 of the way through. But it's not really something I do now.
Ooh, Critical Role EXU Calamity is amazing. If you only have time to watch one actual play show in your life, it's 4 or 5 episodes and they're all spectacular. So do yourself a favor and check them out. Gaussmaster, if you're still here, your question got cut off by the YouTube chat thing. So if you could repost it, then we'll make sure to get to it.
Alright. Hot Gatorade.
Ugh.
What are your favorite ways of dealing with players who are very wealthy and very magically adorned, but are too scared to do anything? Our campaign is an apocalyptic celestial mystery.
I don't even know what those words mean
Me
when
neither.
all put together, but individually I understand them. If your players are all rich, hang on, it said question up there. Oh no, it's Magnus. Okay.
Yeah, it's Magnus.
If your players are all rich, what you got to do is you got to hit them in their purse. You got to send somebody into their base and try and rob them, and make sure that that's going to keep happening until they care about the adventure. Take away the thing that's making them relaxed. Luke Skywalker didn't want to go on the adventure, and then Darth Vader had his parents shot and killed. So that's what you do. Shirt tier hype.
Sleeper hit. Question part 1. Been GMing a long time and been running a custom campaign with third-party monsters for years now. A newer player recently told me he didn't like all the custom stuff because it doesn't feel like D&D anymore. I never thought about that, but it makes sense. Does using too much custom content draw away from the D&D experience?
It can, but there's nothing wrong with that if everyone's down for it.
Also, like, I don't know, like, doesn't feel like D&D, like, I don't really know what that means. Because, like, when we're in Blackguard, like...
It's a bunch of people in a Victorian London.
It's a bunch of people in a Victorian London setting. And, like, that might not feel like D&D to people, but it really feels like D&D to me.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe it's, like, you want to think about if the monsters or items or whatever custom stuff you're adding in there, is it kind of clashing with your world setting? Like, is it, you know, those are things to think about, but I don't know. If you put cool stuff in your game, your players should like it.
Right now we're doing this sort of Lewis and Clark kind of exploring the wilderness thing.
Yeah.
But I stick a bunch of owlbears and stuff in there, so it feels a lot like D&D. But what might be happening also is that your player has a certain idea of what D&D is, and maybe you got to go drill down and figure out what that is and see if there's something you can do to meet it.
Yeah.
Or if there's something they can do to meet you, or you can find each other halfway.
All right. Meditator. Can you please speak about how to lead an adventure through the Feywild and Shadowfell? How to get characters to feel the characteristically different planes? Well, let me tell you something. He runs my solo campaign that he runs for me. The Feywild and the Shadowfell are key players, so please answer. Raven Queen, I love you.
The thing with those planes is that in like WotC lore, they are mirrors of the real world. So you're kind of expected to make it be a map of the real world, but everything's a bit Feywildy, or everything's a bit Shadowfelly. And I do a little bit of that, but I think if we do it too much, it just feels like a coat of paint you put over it. So you kind of have to lean into the weird plane stuff. And the thing I like doing is making sure that the plane is changed or blocked or whatever with these, I call it the wildering fog. It's basically, you know that thing in Curse of Strahd where you can't leave because there's fog and it sends you back? All of those planes in my world have this wildering fog in it, and you can't pass between domains, Shadowfell domains or Feywild domains, without having been there before. And the same thing is in the Witchlight adventure. That thing and the Curse of Strahd thing in my world, it's the same thing. And you can use that to make the planes feel a bit weird. And you can go between fogs and then enter a new realm. And each realm, here's what you do. Each realm is very theme heavy. If you go look at Wild Beyond the Witchlight, one of them just always has moonlight. And there's a crescent moon with a face and a nose and eyes and everything in the sky at all times. And then there's another one that's like a weird funky forest or a weird funky swamp. They all feel distinct. And they don't change. Our world has, you know, seasons and weather and day and night. But Yawn in Wild Beyond the Witchlight is always moonlight. That feels very alien. You know what I mean?
Alright. Vectra asks, important question, IHOP or Denny's? Okay, so it's the only person here who has been in the United States.
I know neither of those things.
I'm gonna say IHOP over Denny's, but to be fair, I didn't really go to either of those places very often. So IHOP only because I've been there more often. But I'm down to have the Denny's experience. We're going to the US in April, so Daði and I can go and sample both places. We can give our review.
What do they serve?
IHOP is a pancake place, and Denny's is kind of like a diner.
Okay. I can't do much bread, so we'll see.
I know.
We might go easy on the bread. Waffle House.
Oh yeah, Waffle House is missing.
I think they do waffles there.
They do. And also pancakes. Alright, we're scrolling more.
Somebody's fanning over Trekiros. That's the serve. Trekiros is awesome.
Alright, David watches. Question. Your exploration video has a hidden gem regarding interactive items that is such a fundamental advice for game masters. Do you have plans to expand on this idea more?
I want to do a whole series on exploration, and I don't know that I'm going to expand on that particular highlightable object thing more, but we're going to talk about hex crawls and point crawls and dungeon crawls. That's gonna come sometime soon. But I got recommended Deficient Master, and I had a chance to talk to him about this recently because he made a very similar video way before we did, and I didn't know about it. So I went and told Deficient Master, I'm like, apparently I stole your idea. It wasn't on purpose. I hadn't seen it, so I wasn't aware of it. But if you want to go look at more stuff about interactable objects, he's got a video on exactly that. I don't know that we have any plans of doing more with that.
Coin Octopus. Question. I like giving my players a lot of shinies, and it consistently ends up with players with too much strength. How can you keep up player progression while not overdoing it? Unfortunately, the answer is give them less shinies.
Yeah.
Because if you give them all the stuff, then they're just better. Like.
Yeah. Can you give them consumables? I like giving scrolls and potions.
Yeah, potions. The amount of times I've freaking gotten a potion of like
Strength.
X giant strength.
Yeah.
It's like Daði's like, you find a potion and there's a toenail floating, and I'm like, oh my god, this is the 5th one this week.
Goddamn toenail's back. It's always the toenail.
But yeah, consumables and scrolls, because that way they still get to use it, but they don't have it forever.
Yeah.
Or stuff with charges that doesn't like regain charges. Like
Yeah.
once you use the charge has been used.
I've also been meaning to do a downtime video in ages talking about money, because if you give money as a reward, you need something to spend it on, and I think there's more to be done in that area.
Yeah.
Hang on, somebody's talking about Magnus manipulating people. Scroll up a bit.
No. We're not reading.
Okay, sorry. We're reading questions. Sorry.
Adept Austin. How often are rules such as spell descriptions brought up at the table? How much is too much? If they're never brought up, how do you make sure spells and abilities are being used correctly? They're brought up whenever we need them to. Even if someone's like, I don't exactly remember how the spell works, we're like, we'll check it out.
Yeah.
Like, we'd rather just take the time to double check than be like, oh, it shouldn't have worked that way, or like, I missed something important.
If there's a spell that I don't know how it works, I look it up when the player says I cast it.
Yeah.
I trust that the player does it as well, but we often, like, blah, 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 the last bit of the spell, you start reading and you go, yeah, blah, 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 and you miss the part at the end where it says, you can only do this if the target is a dog, or, you know, whatever.
Sometimes the blah, blah is the most important part.
Yeah. So I look up spells all the time. More money, less problems. That's what they say.
Yes. Northern Salamander. What is your favorite type of pulling the rug out from under your players' experience as a DM? Is it that thing, what's his face? Cain killing everyone?
Oh god, that was so mean of me.
This is...
So I had a like a doppelganger army that the bad guy controlled, and the guy in charge of that army went to one of the players and made them a bargain, and it was like, you're gonna start feeding me information because I'm not good enough at getting information from my boss anymore. My boss is a different spy master now, so you're gonna tell me everything you know. You're gonna be my inside man, and if you say no, my agents are all in position to assassinate all of your friends and the whole party's family members. And then I ruined the emotional state of that player. And then she said no.
She said no.
And then I played some sour ass music, and then they all got news about their family members dying because the bad guy decided that they were no longer to be a thorn in his side. And it was tragic, and it was horrible, and it was like a bad time. But at the same time, Magnus was playing an adventure, and he managed to sort of turn it on its head. He was like, this is the biggest tactical mistake the enemy ever made, because the enemy has made it so that that we have no excuse but to now go kill him. There's nothing holding us back anymore. This was the final card he played. That was yeah. The rug got pulled, but they got to turn it into a sort of tragic victory.
Koi asks, how should I run combat with a lot more enemies than players? In the past, I've had all the enemies roll together for initiative, and they all take their turns at the same time, but roll individually.
Yeah, or put them in groups. If you got some goblins, a hobgoblin, and a bugbear, you have all the goblins go, the hobgoblin go, and then the bugbear has 3 individual initiatives. And that way you can just sort of have all the mooks go, and then the commanders and tanks and so on. I try and when it's the minions or the mooks or whatever, when it's their turn, I try and stand up and move them all as quickly as I can. I bring the dice with me to the table. I walk around the DM screen and I go and roll in front of the players, and I run the whole minions as fast as I can. And then when it's the complicated turn, I allow myself to sit down, look at the necromancer spell list or whatever it is.
Elaine Tang Chun asks, what is your proudest DM moment and your most regretted? What did you learn from either or both? And if it's hard to pick the proudest, like you can pick a proud moment or a moment you regretted.
My biggest regrets are usually when I feel like I've let somebody down. So right now I'm running these flashbacks. So what happens is at the end of these group sessions, I have a little hook into the next adventure, which is going to be a flashback episode with just me and one player. And we sit back and we play a moment from their backstory that now they realize, only with the context of the modern situation, they realized in hindsight that flashback is about the adventure they're on. But they wouldn't have realized it earlier, that's why we didn't play it in our original prologue. I did solo sessions with everybody. And twice now, I've ended a session without the tag in, that little tag that hooks into the flashback. And those moments kill me, because I'm like, I know the player was looking forward to this, and I know the player was expecting it, and for some reason, I was anxious, or I thought I had a good cliffhanger or something, and I forget about it. Those are the ones I regret the most.
Okay, what are you proud of? You were talking about, you thought the dungeon crawl you ran for me and Magnus?
That was a lot of fun, yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah, we ran like a 4-level dungeon. It was like a house and a basement and a sub-basement and a cellar or something. I thought that was a lot of fun.
Now there's a bone claw chasing me.
Nice.
The master is Vecna.
Guys, look up bone claws and make one of them hate a party member, and you can do this to them.
It respawns every 1d10 hours. Theoretically, it could spawn 10 times every hour.
She's been reciting these facts to anyone that will listen.
The only way to kill it is by killing its master, and its master is Vecna, and I'm level 6!
You gotta go kill Vecna. That was a lot of fun.
No!
Do that to your players.
No!
If you're getting your players invested and getting your players terrified of everything they have to do soon, it's the same thing.
No, I don't get to... Oh my god. Ugh, the chat did the thing. I don't get to deal with it now for like...
More
2
up.
months. Are you sure?
No, down now.
No,
Try Todd.
Yeah, because I remember they saying try Todd.
Try Todd.
Yes, we talked about that question.
Pirate campaign?
What? No.
Well, but you're scrolling over some.
We already answered this.
This one. Any advice from my pirate campaign? We're about to start session 3, and I'm stealing a lot from One Piece. I've never seen One Piece. Vectra, you should go check out CGP Gray's video on the quartermaster and the captain. That's essential homework.
Alright. We did this already. What's your favorite? We did this already.
Oh, because people are reposting their questions.
Yes.
That makes sense. Gauze, I'm here. Thanks, man. Gauze, you gotta ask your question. Maybe you have already. Hang on, we're scrolling down.
4K fork.
Fork. He's got a pronunciation.
That's funny. Question: how do you go about designing homebrew classes? I find it hard to balance features and come up with cool stuff for high level past level 13. You should talk to Magnus because he is currently like I said earlier, he and Daði collaborated on a class called the Warlord. Magnus is also developing another class called the Summoner. So I would ask him either in chat or on our Discord. He can really go into it.
On a higher level than 13, WotC also has a hard time with it. Very few classes get cool stuff past level 13. You're basically done with the level curve, and you get a couple of cool additions, and it's mostly ASIs and epic boons from there on out. And even the capstones aren't that amazing. So just put something down, and if you ever get to that point, you can feel free to rebalance it later.
Eshel Question. How do you handle spellcasting enemies, and what are your suggestions when making minions versus BBEGs with spellcasting?
I would avoid giving minions spellcasting. Even if you could flavor their attacks as being spells, and you could let them counterspell them and stuff, but don't bother looking up spells for minions. It's just going to be a headache. With BBEGs, I don't mind as much. I try and give them spells that I mostly know how they work, so that I don't have to do too much work in terms of figuring out how they work or having to look them up and stuff like that.
Adrian Doin Ditmas. If you're French, I'm very sorry because I know the pronunciation would be different. Question. What are your opinions on doing the busy work of character creation for new players? I asked them what class, background, and species they want. It always seems like too much for newbies. I would be really mad if my DM made my character sheet for me. I really like the process of character creation. And I think if you're new, you just need to learn how to do it. Because when you make your character, you learn about your abilities. You go like, AC. What is AC? And you get your weapons, you get your first ability, you're forced to read it. Like, if a DM handed me a complete sheet, I would just look at it and not know what's happening.
I think everything she said is correct if you're running a first adventure or something like that. If your goal is to introduce some people to D&D and you only have them for an evening or an afternoon, getting them to make characters can be a lot of work, and it is not necessarily fun to learn. You can use pre-mades if you just have a few hours. If you have a bit more time, usually making characters is a useful thing for them to do. And what I used to do is I used to print out little cards that said what each of the classes do and what each of the species do and stuff. If I were to introduce someone new to the game today, I wouldn't do that. I would just use the player's handbook because it's actually kind of good at that right now.
Also, I think it just depends on the person. Like you say, it's not a good thing for new players, but when I first started playing D&D, that was the thing that excited me the most. Was sitting down with the PHP and just building the character.
I'm thinking like your cousins. I remember there was a lot of like just panic at looking at all the numbers and things, and
yeah.
To circumvent that, you can use pre-mades again.
I'm just saying, like, I think it depends on the person.
Yeah. If they're a nerd already, then let them make a character.
Baris Ulukan. Question. What about the reviving players from 0 hit points as a cleric lover? I always feel useless whenever I get Spare the Dying, and I want to change the ruling when I DM.
What is the question?
Yeah, like...
It seems to me like you have an idea for what you want to do.
Then do it.
Do it.
You know. Like, I don't think Spare the Dying necessarily needs to be buffed. Like, Spare the Dying is really good.
Yeah.
It means you can stop worrying about them. But, you know, whatever works in your game.
Because Healing Word still does the same thing, and it's a first level spell.
Healing Word, MVP. Because reviving a character is really strong.
Yeah. There is Gauze's question.
My question, Gauze Master. I'm considering starting a new D&D tuber channel, and I'm no stranger to creating content online. Any tips or any content areas that are underserved that I should continue starting up with?
Oh, I don't know. I think trying to think too much about what there is an opening in or stuff like that, I don't know that that's necessarily going to be the way to go.
You should do the thing that makes you the most excited to do.
It's the same with being a DM. If you're being a DM and you're excited about the stuff you're introducing to your players, that excitement is going to be infectious. The players are going to get excited. And if you, as the creator on your new channel, are excited about the stuff you're talking about, that excitement's going to go through. And you know this is correct. You know I'm not making this up, because how often have you been watching a D&D channel, a YouTube channel, of somebody ranking cheese or cleaning rugs or doing something you don't care about, the history of something you couldn't give two shits about, and you just get sucked into it because that person is fascinating to listen to because of their passion and how much they love what they're talking about, and suddenly you become a cheese nerd or a Lego nerd because somebody hooked you into it.
What's her name? It's that female YouTuber that does like unhinged video essays on stuff. She did one about like this Star Wars hotel that was like 5 hours long. And I don't care about...
Jenny Nichols.
Yes, Jenny Nichols.
She's amazing.
She's insane.
I don't care about Star Wars hotels.
I don't care about any of the things she's talking about.
But she makes a video and you're like, I don't give a shit.
But
Click.
the thing she makes is perfect.
It's so good. Yeah, like how many channels do you watch where you're like, and then you click and suddenly you're hooked.
Yeah, it's like H-Bomber Guy 2. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, if whatever he makes, I'm going to watch it because he does it well.
Yeah.
So if you can get yourself there, then I think people they'll watch.
If you build it, they will follow.
Koi asks, oh wait, we already got to that.
Hello, our sanity.
Beto. Question. I feel overwhelmed by my session notes, but can never find what I need. Do you have any easy buttons, or should I just suffer? Maybe you have a way to suffer less.
You gotta find the format that works for you. A lot of people asked for the session note format I had in that Obsidian video, and I put it up on the Discord, but I also hesitate a lot to do that because I don't want people to think that my way is correct. It is not. You need to remember that what is useful, the notes that are most useful to you are the notes that you find the most useful. So if you go if you try Obsidian and you don't like it, there's a outline on the side that I use a lot, but maybe that's not the right thing for you. I had a friend who preps all his sessions in Miro because it's non-linear and you can scroll around. Magnus did a whole mega dungeon like that for the mega game.
Yeah. Insane board.
Insane board. Maybe you want to do it all with post-it notes or index cards and have it all in front of you. Like, just experiment and experiment and experiment, and eventually you will find the thing that makes you tick, and you'll be excited by what you're doing and how it works.
It is 9:50 our time. I just want to give you guys a heads up that once it gets to 10 and a bit after, we're probably going to start winding down because we have a video to edit. Dreamful Saturn asks, if I had a campaign setting with a main theme, say Nordic mythology, do I present it to my party head on or just bit by bit? As in, do I start with a big festival or just little will-o-wisp?
If you can get your buy-in at the start, that's great. If you can tell your players, like, you pitch your campaign on a little one-page sheet or something, and you say, hey, it's all Nordic inspired. Here are the names of the big cities, and here's the festival we start playing in. What you might see happening is your players showing up with people called Eiríkur or Haraldur or whatever, and
Magnus.
then Magnus, or Freyja, and then you go, oh, okay, yeah, they're all buying into it, and then the whole thing sort of becomes this collaborative experience instead of them showing up with Conan the Barbarian, and then you have to kind of introduce the Nordic stuff to them. Then they're all aliens to it. You can have them buy in right at the start and then come into the adventure. And you can do that if you watch the Session 0 video. In that there's a questionnaire thing that I post, and it's in the comments, so you don't even have to watch the video if you don't like it. But in the comments, there's a questionnaire I use to get the buy-in right at the start. And you can put in there, how are you related to this Nordic nation, or why are you coming to the Nordic festival of the festival of the Will-o-Wisp, or whatever.
Bojack Sampson asks,
Is this a crossover episode?
what systems have you played? I'd be curious to see your reaction to Ars Magica.
I've not played Ars Magica. I mostly played 5e. I played Pathfinder First Edition. I played Paranoia and Call of Cthulhu. I played some of the Fantasy Flight Star Wars game. And I played Dark Heresy and Shadowrun and Cyberpunk.
I have only played 5e. And then I played the Pathfinder Kingmaker video game. I know it's not the same as, playing it at a table, but I stopped pretty early on.
People ask a lot about systems, and I'm interested to try more. But at the same time, I also it's at a point now.
Are you though? Because you don't like being a player.
I don't like being a player. That's right. So trying a new system means I have to go learn a new system.
Yeah.
I like being a player more. No, a DM more. But I played. I played Trek Heroes' Flarefall, which was a lot of fun. That was a very simple system, and it was. It took me no time to learn because of the website and the way it works. There's going to be a video on that sometime soon, I think.
Yeah.
He's done a bunch of those videos on his channel. But the thing is, it's gotten to a point with 5e and me that I don't have to spend any money on it. I do, but I don't have to.
You don't have to.
When the whole OGL thing happened, I cancelled my D&D Beyond membership, and I figured, well, I own all the books. I have no reason to spend another nickel on this. And I can just keep playing this system and mod it and change it and do whatever I want with it, because I've gotten to a point of certain system mastery with it where I know how the thing works, and I'm relaxed and I'm calm, and I'm never freaking out going, how does this rule work? Or going, I did that wrong, or oh, it should have been much different, and whatever. So I like the idea that there are loads of kinds of systems, and I'm often excited when I'm hearing people talk about new systems. I was just listening to the Matt Colwell stream where he's talking about Draw Steel, and I'm always excited about Draw Steel or Daggerheart or any of these things. Vagabond that Terran's designing. These things are all spectacular to me, but I'm running all my campaigns in the same setting. They're all the same world. Everything is interconnected. PCs from previous adventures might show up in the next one. So a new system often means I have to run something that's not canon, and that's usually a deal breaker in terms of my interest in the campaign.
Our Sanity asks,
Our Sanity.
do you have a favorite D&D prop or accessory that you own?
Yeah.
Is it your pipe? You really like your pipe?
I like my pipe, but that's just my pipe. My maps. We have one on the wall, obviously, it's in all the videos, but if anybody's going to Blackguard, the big city, I've got a map of that I printed out. I've done a huge hex map. You can see that in the scroll.
Yeah.
I've got it's the PC lag thing. I've got a huge hex map that is visible in the setup, in the table, like in the living room setup video. Because at some point I realized, if you're buying a D&D proper accessory, it costs quite a bit of money. If you make one on your own digitally and then send it off to a local print shop, it doesn't cost that much for them to print it in decent quality. Like those things are like that big hex crawl map I have. It's like this big, and I think it cost me like 2,000 ISK. What's that? It's like $15.
Or like
$15.
Sub $20.
The Blackguard City map I had printed on this sort of like felt kind of thing. Like it feels like a campaign setting map. It's about yay big. And that was a similar sort of price. It was like $15, $20. So you'd be surprised how much value you can get out of stuff that you make your own and put a little bit of money into. Just a tiny amount compared to how much you're spending on empty grid paper or vinyl or whatever. But then it's yours and you own it and you get to be really proud of it.
Ketskapow.
Ketskapow.
I want to create a new homebrew, but I don't want to abandon my previous one. I feel like creating a continent and just saying they have a different religion and creation myths. Is that valid?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. That is how my entire world pieces together. Various continents have completely contrary religions. Players will ask, like, how did this world get created? And I'm like, well, if you ask these people, they have an answer, and if you ask those people, they have a different answer. And you can sort of do whatever with that whole scenario, and then just make those cultures different and varied, and throw it all in the kitchen sink and play with that. And it can be a whole bunch of fun, just sort of mixing and matching, and that also is real life, by the way. If you ask Christians how the world was created, they have a different answer than if you ask Muslims.
D. Pepperoni. Any tips for a campaign where
Actually, is that true? I don't think so.
Stop.
Anyway.
D. Pepperoni asks, any tips for a campaign where players are stuck in a pocket dimension or a unique closed area with special rules that the players have to discover to escape? I mean, it sounds like you already got the plan.
That sounds cool.
They need to find the clues to the unlocking.
I mean, Curse of Strahd does this. Like, you're stuck in Ravenloft until Strahd dies. This is also the plot of Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Spoilers. But basically, yeah, that's that sort of Alice in Wonderland thing. Like, there are rules to the world. So just play around with that kind of idea and then figure it out. It sounds to me like you have a whole campaign there.
Yes, we just did that. Trigo Tigo asks, any tips for creating your homebrew world? Trying to go from general plot of each region to then specific quests, since I already know the start and the end that I want.
It's that Ferris wheel analogy I talked about in some video. Like, first I drew the map. I should show you guys the first ever version of that world map. Because what I did is I opened Photoshop, and I just did little blobs. I went, "Bleh." No fancy coastline or anything. I went, "Bleh, Atroxia, Brightwell, Benkara," and just made these sort of blobby shapes. And then later on, I went and drew in a bit more detail. And then I'm like, I don't know anything about this place. And listen, you know, if you were here for when we were making those adventures in Benkara, we didn't answer the question what Orgard is like, or the city on the coast. Like, we don't know anything about that city. I wrote down that it was spoilers. I wrote down that it was bombarded at the start. Spoilers. And other than that, what's the city like? Who's in charge of it? What are the factions? What are the guilds? What's the harbor like? What's the map of it? We don't know. We don't need to. You just render as you go. You sketch things and you render, and you sketch and you render, you sketch and you render, and you go through and you do the chunks that are easy. Whenever something's easy to you, don't deny yourself the pleasure of working on it because you have something else you have to do. Do the easy stuff and then make the players play the easy stuff. That way you're always having an easy time just creating.
All right. Zachary Mills asks, I don't know, what's something you've loved that Daði does as a DM and something you've disliked?
Ooh.
I love everything and I dislike nothing.
Great. Let's move on.
No, I mean, seriously though, like, I really love Daði as a DM. He's the best DM I've ever had.
You also love me romantically.
I also love him romantically. Magnus has talked about this before, but Daði is really good at characterizing NPCs very quickly. And they all feel really distinct. It's not like everyone has a super special NPC voice or whatever, but he just gives them mannerisms and personalities and just, it's like the moment I talk to someone, I'm like, oh, this is a real person. Something I've disliked? I mean, there was that thing that I said the other day where, so our main game is like 7 people. That's a lot of people at the table. So sometimes, I mean, okay, the only thing recently I remember is that, like, I was, like, talking and I felt like I was kind of being, like, rushed towards a conclusion or something. But that's less, like, I don't know. It's just, like, when there's 7 people, you want to make sure that you're trying to, like, pace the game so that everyone gets attention and everyone gets a chance to speak. So...
It gets to a point where occasionally there are just so many players, so much... and so many players in so little time that you don't have an opportunity to get to the spotlight. So a lot of the times I'm sitting there going, I want to run for this person, that person, this person, that person. Unlimited to go. Can we? Maybe let's not do 8 players, Daði. Can we have a civilization? That's a question.
Yeah, we kind of already answered that.
Okay.
Scarlight asks, how do you handle in-game scripture / folklore? Sometimes I have difficulty when players are in a library searching for books and information, and I didn't write an entire book for them to flip through.
I try and summarize a lot. I try and tell them, like, you would know, ... you know. You're aware that this is a thing, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you don't give, like, text for text.
No. So, you know, they'll go, I go read this book. And I'm like, okay, this book is about... And then, you know, I tell them 3 or 4 sentences. And they go, neat. I keep it. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then that's usually it. That's usually all. Like, players will ask DMs, what is this book about? And DMs will hear, can you read the book to me? And all you need to do is just answer the question, what is the book about?
Adept Austin asks probably the most asked question we get on our channel. Will y'all ever post some actual plays? No. Probably
not.
Never. We don't want to record our personal games. It's just... at that point, it's like our thing then becomes a public thing.
So there was a question somebody asked in the Discord, which we read earlier, which was like about this becoming our job or whatever, and no longer feeling like our hobby. The thing with our home game, is that it's very personal, and I feel I'm nervous about making it public, and I'm not really interested in it because I want to keep it as my hobby and I want to keep it kind of sacred.
Like, we might at some point in the future, like, we threw around the idea for like a super limited Patreon tier at some point in the future where, like not something available all the time, but maybe Daði would do like a one shot or something.
Yeah.
And like it would be expensive. It would be like really expensive.
But I could run for some people, and then we might film it, and then that would be available.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't be our home game.
No.
So it's not really something I'll.
Yeah.
That I'm looking into.
And if it's something that you're waiting for,
yeah,
don't, because we don't know if we'll ever do it.
Also, like the last time we answered this question, we mentioned the fact that the kind of actual play we'd want to make would be very like high production quality.
Yeah, like we literally couldn't do it. It would require like multiple cameras, which means we would need camera operators most likely.
Yeah.
And it would just be a whole thing. We don't have a studio, right? We do all our stuff. We play in our apartment. We record in our apartment. We can't do what Critical Role does because we don't have the production
expensive.
quality. We don't have the money. We don't have, you know.
Yeah.
Sleeper Hit asks, people freak out when they see Obsidian. You did a legit good job going over it for notes.
Thanks.
Thoughts on going over plugins? Well, you don't he didn't even know about plugins.
Somebody commented about plugins. We mentioned Obsidian in the setup video, and somebody commented about plugins. And I'm like, there's plugins?
Yeah, he's not the plugin guy. Go somewhere else for that.
I'm going to do some research. I already downloaded one of them. If I go figure out how they work, I might explain how they work. But first I have to know how they work. Hey, Emergent GM, thanks so much for joining us.
Adrian Doyne Didmus again asks, do you guys use physical character sheets? If so, how do you organize them? I always find there's not enough space for features. So for our current game, yeah, we are using physical character sheets. Because back when the OGL happened, and also just when we started using like the new version of D&D when it was still in playtesting.
Yeah.
So we had to stop using D&D Beyond because it just didn't have the features.
Yeah.
So we all made physical character sheets. We've said it in our like setup video that we all have binders where we keep them. People have notes in there and stuff like that. Yeah. Do we want to wrap up?
We can do a few more.
do
I'm
a
okay
couple
for a
more.
bit longer.
We've already talked about this.
Was it house rule? Yeah.
Excuse me. Oh, Fork joined as a member.
Hi, Fork.
Cool to have you.
Thanks so much for joining.
Agile Monk. I'm sure this has been asked, but what do the both of you do for jobs IRL to pay for all your fun hobby stuff? We both work in video games. We met there, and we're both still there. I'm not at the same studio anymore, but yeah, we do games. I work in production, and Daði does like cinematics and writing.
Writing and directing. Could you check if our producer is telling us something we're doing wrong?
Oh, cool. Okay. My kid tells us we're almost at the bottom, which is probably just a good time to stop. Oh, John's here. Hi, John.
Oi, oi.
Oi, oi.
John's also in video games.
Yes, he was with me in the
Expedition.
In Expedition, which was the very first game that Daði ever ran for me. John and I played together. Yeah, Naigobi's asking about actual play. We already talked about that.
Online actual play one-shots? Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Maybe. Eshel asks, I have a new player that isn't really interested in combat and is mostly interested in the RP side of things. Any tips on better incorporating these two aspects together? I mean, wasn't this part of the reason why we phased Guizdate out of it?
Like, he got less and less interested in that sort of...
Yeah.
He had a hard time with that. He still does.
Yeah, because he's super into not combat. RP.
RP,
He loves the conversations, the characters.
It could be all kinds of things. Like he gets really into it in the cowboy thing. He likes
That's true.
in the combat and the cowboy thing. He gets really into it. So there's this whole thing about like what players are about. Like there's the actor and the storyteller and so on. And a lot of the times I look at those things and I can easily plot my players into these archetypes. And then I discovered there are exceptions. Not that some of them are a little bit of both, but in certain adventures, this person becomes this player type. So a lot of the times I discover that, one of our players, Guizdate, who we love playing with and he loves playing with us, but sometimes he doesn't get into the combat. He just doesn't find himself like being able to care about it. But then we do the cowboy thing, and he's really into it. We're playing cowboys. We've got 6 shooters, and then he's really into it.
Oh, 80s is here.
80s.
Hi 80s.
Hi 80s.
Also Skunk, E-Bud.
Hi Skunk. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thanks so much. So maybe it is something about the way combat's happening. So what I could suggest you try and do is find a way to incorporate things you like, things you're into, or things they're into, and sort of experiment and see if they bite. See if there comes a point where you put something in there and the player suddenly gets interested in the combat. Put an NPC in there, put their life at danger. And now there's an objective, and now there's role play in the fight. Maybe that gets them interested.
Yeah, definitely. I think having the NPCs in danger, people they care about, because that way they're not like, "Ooh, I'm gonna have fun doing the combat." It's like, "Oh, I don't want this person to die." We're lovers, or we're siblings, or hopefully not at the same time. It's just the narratively they're important to the player, so they're gonna do whatever they can, and if that means having to do combat, then they will do that.
This is a video we're working on right now. We've written the first version of the script of this.
Oh yeah, combat objectives.
Combat objectives. And the idea is you've got 8 types of combat, and then you got some types of combat objectives, and you can sort those or mix and match them in any way you like. And what happens is you get these kind of interesting combo scenarios where one feeds into the other, and now you've got a horde of bad guys and save the NPC. And how does that work, right? You can play around with those, and then you might be able to spark that engagement. Because a lot of times players are checking out a combat, not because they're not interested in combat, but combat's just dragging on. And we're like, okay, we're slogging, we're going through, monsters, and we're counting down the hit points, and you know what I mean? So, oftentimes you can mess with the combat a bit until you get to a point where there's juice there.
Yeah. I think we've hit the bottom here.
We've hit the bottom. I wanna go through a few more. I can see a couple of questions here.
You have to edit.
I have to edit. That's true.
We could keep going. Oh, there's just a few more.
There's always just a few more.
Yeah.
Everybody's so nice. They're asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
All right, listen. Magnus is going to write in a cutoff point
here.
here.
He already did.
He already did?
We're past it. That's why I'm like, we gotta stop.
I see. Listen, if I could stream forever. Elder Goblin, hey, welcome to the show. So many fellow dungeon tubers here. You gotta go check these folks out, everybody. Check out Naigobi, check out Elder Goblin, check out Mozzie Answer. Agile Monk, thank you so much. Oh my god. This has been incredible. Yeah, Nick, we gotta have that political conversation. I've gotta ask you some questions. Go to sleep.
No, there's no sleep. It's just more work.
More work. There's editing to be done. Well, thanks so much for watching, everybody. If I don't stop now, I will be doing this forever. Thanks so much for the support, everybody. Agile Monk and Todd and Spooky Whoopie.
Everyone who gave money, everyone who joined. Thank you. You guys are crazy.
Yeah, this has been it's been an incredible honor to get to be here at this incredible milestone. Not just 30,000 subscribers in a little north of 3 months, but also 1 million views. We're kind of mind blown by the just incredible reception the channel has had. So we're gonna try and do our best for everybody and make sure that there's more videos that we're working on and that you hopefully find enjoyable. And we'll try and do these check-ins at other milestones in the future. I think that's it for now.
Yes.
So
all right, guys.
That's where we'll pick it up next time.
Keep studying the mystic arts.